The Sun is the center of our solar system. Every second, it releases enormous amounts of energy that travel across space and reach our planet. This energy powers weather, warms the oceans, and allows plants to grow through photosynthesis. Without the Sun, life on Earth would not exist. But what if something impossible suddenly happened? What if the Sun simply vanished? No explosion, no warning, just gone. At first, nothing might seem different. The sky would still look normal. Daylight would still shine on cities and oceans. People would continue their daily routines. But exactly 8 minutes later, everything would begin to change. Darkness would fall across the planet. Temperatures would drop rapidly, and the Earth would begin a long journey through the cold darkness of space. Let's explore what might happen if the Sun suddenly disappeared. The first 8 minutes. One of the most fascinating facts about the universe is that light takes time to travel. Sunlight does not reach Earth instantly. In fact, it takes about 8 minutes for light from the Sun to travel the distance between the Sun and our planet. This means that if the Sun suddenly disappeared, we would not notice immediately. For about 8 minutes, everything on Earth would appear completely normal. Birds would continue flying, cars would continue driving down highways. People would go about their daily lives without realizing anything had changed. But exactly 8 minutes later, the final rays of sunlight would reach Earth. And then, the sky would go completely dark. At the same moment, the gravitational pull of the Sun would disappear. Earth would stop orbiting and begin moving in a straight line through space. Our planet would become a lonely traveler drifting through the galaxy. The first day. During the first day after the Sun disappears, temperatures on Earth would begin falling rapidly. Without sunlight heating the planet, the surface would start losing warmth. However, the Earth would not freeze instantly. The oceans and atmosphere store large amounts of heat, which would slow the cooling process. Within the first 24 hours, the average temperature might drop from around 15 degrees Celsius to just below freezing. Cities would experience permanent night. The only remaining light would come from artificial sources such as streetlights and buildings. But even those would not last forever. Power plants require maintenance and fuel supplies. Without human workers to operate them, electrical grids would eventually shut down. Gradually, the world would grow darker and colder. 1 week later. After 1 week without the Sun, the planet would become dramatically colder. The average global temperature could fall to around -17 degrees Celsius. Large parts of the oceans would begin freezing on the surface. However, the deeper parts of the ocean would remain liquid for much longer. This is because geothermal heat from the Earth's core continues warming the deepest layers of water. Some life forms living near hydrothermal vents deep underwater might still survive. On land, however, conditions would become extremely difficult for most forms of life. Plants rely on sunlight for photosynthesis. Without sunlight, most plants would die within weeks. As plants disappear, entire food chains would begin collapsing. Animals that depend on plants for food would struggle to survive. The ecosystems we know today would begin breaking down. 1 year later. After 1 full year without the Sun, Earth would be almost entirely frozen. Surface temperatures could fall to around -70 degrees Celsius. The oceans would be covered by thick ice, possibly several meters deep. The atmosphere itself would begin changing. Some gases in the air could start freezing and falling as snow made of frozen carbon dioxide. The planet would look completely different from the world we know today. However, deep beneath the frozen surface, life might still survive. Near hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor, ecosystems powered by geothermal heat could continue existing. These environments do not rely on sunlight. Instead, they rely on chemical reactions powered by heat from the Earth's interior. If any life survived on Earth after the Sun disappeared, it would most likely exist in these deep ocean environments. The far future. Over thousands of years, the frozen Earth would continue traveling through the darkness of space. Without the Sun, the planet would slowly lose most of its remaining heat. Eventually, surface temperatures could fall below -200 degrees Celsius. The oceans would become solid ice kilometers thick. The atmosphere would freeze and collapse onto the surface of the planet. From space, Earth would appear as a silent frozen world drifting endlessly through the galaxy. Yet deep inside the planet, the core would still remain extremely hot. And in hidden pockets of liquid water beneath the frozen crust, simple forms of life might continue surviving. Even without the sun, the story of life on Earth might not end completely. The sun may seem ordinary compared to the billions of stars in our galaxy. But for Earth, it is everything. It provides warmth, energy, and light. It powers the weather, the oceans, and the ecosystems that allow life to exist. Imagining a world without the sun reminds us how fragile life on our planet truly is. Fortunately, scientists estimate that our sun will continue shining for billions of years. But if it ever disappeared, Earth would quickly become a cold and silent world drifting through space. And the warmth we feel from sunlight every day would be gone forever.